Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Kurt Nelson. This is video 2A. Video 2B will be a little bit more of an introduction to kind of talking about these things. This is kind of our top 5 kind of most misunderstood and mistaught or over-taught kind of principles in the hitting world right now, specifically among a lot of the younger hitters out there, and even in a lot of the kind of old school mentalities of hitting as well. So the first thing that I think is the most overrated, most overtaught thing, it's pretty simple. It goes right into our setup, and that's get on the balls of our feet, get athletic. And we talk so much about getting athletic in so many different sports, and they all kind of constitute to getting on the balls of the feet. And hitting is done so much more flat-footed. We want to be on the center of our feet. We want to, maintain that natural center of gravity, and that's going to be done a lot more flat-footed. So we'll get into that. Number 2, it's take the weight back, take the hands back. I think it's a very generically taught thing at the young levels. Is you hear every little league coach out there, not every, I'm not trying to group everyone into the same info, but it's very popular, is to take your weight back and take your hands back. And so much of the swing is done, and so much of our pieces leading up to swinging are done getting ready on the forward move. So we talk a lot about making a clean forward move and ultimately staying in balance. And a lot of that has to do with not taking my weight back and not reaching my hands back out of balance. My hands will get ready, my body will load my weight inside of that back foot, but ultimately we're trying not to shift back and load our hands back. We'll get into that as well. Number 3 for me is going to be hip rotation. As we see a lot of, even a lot of the best hitters in the world, they talk about hip rotation. They talk about the hips rotating, to fire. And ultimately, we talk so much about not rotating the hips. We talk a lot more about the core, and we talk a lot more about the ground. How we interact with the ground has a lot to do with our adjustability, has a lot to do with our natural kinetic chain that's going to allow us to produce a more effortless swing that's going to be more accurate and also have more power naturally. So, we'll get into hip rotation and a lot of the misconceptions that come with talking about spinning the hips. Number 4, you talk about the bat path. You talk about a lot of people talk about taking the shortest path possible, right? Take that A to B route. You see a lot of coaches talking about, kind of that, keep that barrel head up, take that shortest path to that ball. And I think there's a giant misconception there on what's actually happening, or kind of the feel versus real side of things that we'll get into. And number 5 for me is the actual fire, the actual lower body process. What are we actually working on to drive the ball with? And we start talking about spinners, we start talking about not using the ground well, and it does correlate a little bit to hip rotation as well. Actually, it does a lot, but ultimately I think those are 5 things right now that are really generically taught at most levels. It's not just the younger levels, but when we start implementing some of those mechanics into young hitters, it starts forcing them to move in ways that become tougher to break those habits later on. So I think those are the 5 things we're going to kind of look at first in terms of developing youth hitters. We'll kind of have another, kind of 2B video after this, which will kind of be an introduction to a few different principles that really apply when dealing with young hitters. And then we'll get into each of these kind of 5 different, misconceptions or overtaught things, and we'll go from there. So anyways, till the next video.